Hey everybody, it's Caitlin. Welcome back to CoronaChat. This is Nochi, who came to say hey, and to wish you all a happy Friday and a happy holiday Friday. I know that for many of us, this is a big weekend, either because of Passover or Easter Sunday, or the holy month of Ramadan. And this year it can be particularly poignant and maybe a little hard because many of the traditions that we're used to are changing. So Nochi just wanted to come and say hey and give you a little cheer on your Friday. So anyway, today on CoronaChat we're going to talk a little bit about grocery stores. Because many of you have been asking about grocery stores and whether it's safe to go to the grocery store and how to protect yourselves while you're there. So I thought we could talk a little bit about that this weekend. So remember, grocery store, the whole reason that we are trying to stay home, right, that we're doing this social distancing, is to try to limit the amount of time that we're coming into contact with folks who may be infected and really kind of minimize the amount of exposure that we have to the virus, right? Obviously, zero exposure is the best option, but we all still have to go out and do things like go to the grocery store because otherwise we won't have any food to eat. So how do we do this safely? The first thing to remember is that grocery store employees are working overtime to keep shelves stocked and all products clean. They're under a lot of stress, and so as we all go into the grocery store, we need to make sure that we do our part to help, right? So the first thing to do is make sure that we have our masks on, right? And if you have gloves, you can put those on right before you go, right? So I'm just going to go ahead and put my gloves on as if I were going to the grocery store, right? And if I don't have gloves, I can just use a little bit of hand sanitizer right before I go into the store, before I touch the handles or anything. And that way, if I picked up virus particles somewhere else on my way to the store, I'll be less likely to spread them to other people. Once I'm in the grocery store, I want to try to move through the store as quickly as possible, right? And we want to be considerate and give other shoppers and workers plenty of space. Remember, at least 2 arms distance whenever possible, right? As I'm picking out which food options to buy, I want to be mindful of whether items are marked with a little sign that says WIC. It has a drawing of a family on it. So these are items that can be purchased with WIC dollars that are distributed to pregnant people and to families with young children who might not be able to otherwise afford healthy food. So if you aren't using WIC dollars, please be considerate about leaving these products for people who are, because they're the only products that can be bought with these funds. All right, since I'm by myself, I'm going to take the mask off for a second so that it's easier for you all to hear me, but I'll put it back on in a moment to demo a little bit of something. So, speaking of young children, right, grocery shopping can be even more challenging if you're trying to do it with kids, and that's on the best day. And so now with this whole coronavirus scare and all of us trying to do social distancing, it can just be that much more complicated, especially with kids who might not understand that they can't touch things or put their hands in their mouth. And so here are some thoughts that might help. If your child is small enough to wear, trying to keep them on your body in some kind of baby carrier can help prevent them from going wayward and touching things, right? Similarly, if you can put them in the shopping cart, either in that little basket seat in the front or in the main cart, that can kind of help to keep them corralled a little bit. If you've got them, you can use disinfecting wipes or just your spray bottle with your 10% bleach solution to disinfect all that before you put your child into the cart. That way, if they are touching things, touching their face, putting their hands in their mouth, you can rest a little bit easier knowing that you've already disinfected everything, right? For older kids, you might want to try a variation of the floor is lava game, right? Where, boxes, walls, all other kind of surfaces that you don't want to touch, those are made of lava. And if they touch them, the lava will get them, right? Maybe there's a special force field around other people that will shock them, so they have to kind of stay away from that. And I was recently talking earlier today with a friend of mine who's a mom, and she suggested that for gloves and masks, one way to try to make this a little more fun and try to have your kids keep them on is to talk about it like it's a game. Maybe this is their special costume, or they're a secret superhero and they have to keep their gloves and mask on to make sure that nobody figures out their secret identity. You can get creative, but these can be ways to try to keep your kids involved in doing the kinds of things that they need to do to help keep everybody from getting infected, while also not, totally freaking them out or making them really be in this place of like, oh my gosh, I can't do anything, I can't have any fun, right? Okay, so once you're in the checkout line, you want to make sure that you're being considerate of others and giving them space so that they feel safe. There's nothing worse if you're already kind of stressed about this whole thing than you're doing your social distancing and you're keeping your kids together, and then somebody else comes and stands, right immediately behind you in your personal bubble, right? So we want to make sure that we give each other enough space in the grocery store so we can all feel safe. Once you get to the checkout, if you can pay with a credit or debit card rather than cash, please do so. It helps to protect the grocery store worker from having to handle cash that may have virus particles on it, right? So if you can swipe your own card, it helps to keep everybody a little bit safer and calmer, right? And once you get out of the grocery store and get home, you can take your gloves and mask off, right? So similarly, if you drove a car to the grocery store, once you get to your car, you might do this as you're leaving the grocery store after you kind of open the doors. And so when we're taking our gloves and mask off, right? So I'm gonna put all my stuff back on here. I'm just coming out of the grocery store. What I want to do is make sure I'm taking my gloves off first, right? So as I'm doing this, I'm gonna kind of grab the outside of my glove with my thumb and pointer finger and tuck my other two fingers under here so that as I pull the glove back, it pulls off inside out, right? I'm going to do that with the first glove. And then using this glove, I'm going to grab the second glove, so same kind of thing, and pull that off. That way, I'm never touching any part of the glove that was facing outward, right? Now, once I'm done with this, I'm going to put my gloves away, and then, and only then, am I going to take my mask off. And I'm going to do that very carefully, touching the elastic here, but not touching, I do not want to touch this side of the mask. Because if it was working, and there were other people in that store that had coronavirus and were breathing those particles out, this is going to be covered in virus particles, so I don't want to touch it. I'm just going to take all of this, put it straight into the garbage, or if I was using reusable ones, right, I'm going to take my mask and put it straight into maybe a plastic baggie that I'm using to then put stuff in the wash. With my gloves, same kind of thing, and then put them into my bleach solution, right? And then I'm going to get hand sanitizer and do that whole thing, clean my hands, or if I'm doing this at home, I can get to a sink and then do a good soap and water wash of my hands, right? Some people have asked about whether they need to disinfect containers and grocery bags when they get home, right? So we don't have solid evidence about this, but it does seem that the virus particles can linger for several hours on hard surfaces like plastic and metal. So you may want to wipe down containers with a 10% bleach solution or disinfecting wipe when you get home, especially if you live with someone who's older or immune compromised or has an underlying health condition. You might also want to do this if you have young children who are prone to put things in their mouth, right? One last thought. There are a lot of folks switching over to use things like Instacart or other delivery services right now. And these are great options, but we need to be considerate of our communities here too, right? These services are being overwhelmed right now by people who are trying to get groceries delivered, and people who really can't leave the house for any reason, perhaps because they're immunocompromised, or they're elderly, or they have a disability or an underlying health issue, and it really isn't safe for them to be out and about. They need to be able to use Instacart, and it's a matter of life or death. And many of them are being shut out because these services are being so overwhelmed. So those of us who are healthy enough to go to the grocery store might want to consider whether we really, really need that delivery, or if we can leave that spot open for someone who might need it more than us, right? And maybe while we're at it, we can check in on our neighbors, family, friends, anybody else in our lives who might not be able to get to the store to see if there's anything that they need us to pick up while we're there. And on that note, your bit of good news for today. Facebook is starting to create a platform to allow people to more easily connect with their neighbors, to be able to offer support or to ask for help. So if you go to www.facebook.com/COVID support, you can get linked in with other people in the area that are either able to offer help or are looking for help, and you can get connected. So that's it for today. As always, drop your comments and questions below. If you've got a good, positive COVID story that you want to share, drop that down here too, and I'll get those up and out for all of us to talk about. And with your questions, I'll do my best to get you an answer. So CoronaChat's going to take a little bit of a break for the holiday weekend, just to get recharged and also to catch up on tracking down information to all of your questions. But I will see you all back here on Monday. In the meantime, stay safe and take care of each other. We'll talk soon.